Kia ora and welcome to OCHO Chocolate Factory. OCHO stands for Otago Chocolate. So my name is Angela Howell, I'm the General Manager at OCHO Chocolate, and it is my absolute pleasure to introduce you to the factory and to talk you through the tasting journey. So I'm just going to start by telling you a little bit about the origins of OCHO. So we have had chocolate manufacturing here in Dunedin since the 1860s, since the gold rush, since gold was discovered in central Otago. So what happened was that in the mid-2010s, Mondelez, who had acquired Cadbury, decided that it wasn't making as much money as it could because of shipping costs from New Zealand, and decided to relocate all Cadbury chocolate production from Dunedin to Australia. Now this absolutely devastated the community because chocolate was in our blood. We all felt like we grew up as part of the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory story. And as much as we would walk to school, we'd go downtown, all you could smell was chocolate in the air. So to lose Cadbury was unthinkable. So much so that a group of city councillors, spearheaded by Jim O'Malley, approached Mondelez and asked if they could buy the factory to save the jobs and to save the industry and part of our cultural identity of the city. Mondelez initially agreed, and so they started getting pledges in from people who wanted to invest in maintaining and retaining chocolate manufacturing in the city. When pledges were approaching $10 million, because Mondelez had initially suggested $20 million was the figure they were looking at, the city councillors went back to Mondelez and asked them if to talk about the contract and the details, and they just went, actually no, and they destroyed all of the equipment. So we were left with a whole bunch of people in the community wanting to invest in chocolate manufacturing with no factory. So at that point, a small local player who was selling at the markets, OCHO, headed by Liz Rowe, approached Jim and said, I'm no Cadbury, but I do have some equipment, some knowledge and some brand awareness if you would like to use OCHO as the vehicle to fundraise, which we did. Fast forward to November 2018, actually it was 2017 when they did the crowdfund. OCHO raised $2 million in 32 hours. It was the fastest, most successful crowdfund campaign in New Zealand history. And with that money, we went and we invested in all of the machinery that you can see now around you. So I will just talk you through what we've done. So if you look here in the chocolate room, you'll see a chocolate roaster. We'll go through this in more detail as well during the tasting journey. A roaster, a winnower, a pre-refiner, and then various different machines for making chocolate. So the Cosmos, the Spectra, and the ball mill there over the back. And then we also bought tempering machines, cooling tunnels, and other miscellaneous equipment. So really, Mondelez did OCHO a favour. They allowed us to reimagine what chocolate manufacturing should look like in the 21st century. First of all, it shouldn't contain unethical practices such as slavery or child labour. It shouldn't contain palm oil, deforestation. There's a lot of really unethical things that go on in chocolate production. And it's really important that OCHO, as a 21st century chocolate manufacturer, is aware of all of these, and we do everything we can to mitigate our involvement in them, including packaging. Chocolate packaging typically is very plastic heavy. We have gone out of our way to make sure our packaging is completely home compostable and fully sustainable. Now, we're finally at the tasting journey component of your visit to the OCHO Chocolate Factory. So we have a tasting box with 10 different compartments, and I'm going to start you with basically the start of the process, the raw ingredient. So in the first compartment, you'll find roasted cacao beans. Now this is originally from Papua New Guinea, the one that you have here, and all we have done is roasted them to bring out the flavour of the cacao nib. And I'd really like you to taste this. Now the best thing to do to start is to try and break it with your hands. If you're unable to crack the husk with your hand, you can also use your jaw, your teeth, to crack it open. And then once you've done that, you can peel the husk off and eat the nib on the inside. You're also welcome to try and eat the whole cacao bean as well at the same time. A lot of people do prefer it with the husk as well. It's completely personal preference. But I will just advise you that do remember this is the raw ingredient and it has no chocolate. So people who are accustomed to eating sweet chocolate might not find it very palatable. See what you think. The second thing that you're going to taste is the nib. So it's really what you've just tasted within the cacao bean, but this is the nib that our winnowing machine has taken the husk off and chopped the nib up for you. So the process by which we take the husk off the nib is the winnower. It uses very basic technology. It cracks the husk open and then it uses air to blow the husk into the big sack, and the heavier nib gets crushed up and flows down the rail at the side and gets collected into a big bucket. So once the nib has been made, you can have a taste of it in here. The easiest way sometimes is just to lick your finger, pop it in, get it out and taste it. So this again is a Papua New Guinea nib, which will taste very different from nibs of other origins. The third component in the tasting journey is untempered chocolate. So this is the final product that comes out of the first room, the chocolate room. It is a very simple product. Typically, what you're tasting here is a 70% Papua New Guinea. So it's 70% Papua New Guinea cacao with 30% fair trade sugar. This one has been made in the ball mill, in the large machine. I'll run through the other machines with you as we move along. It is a very delicious product. So again, I would recommend that you, if you want to lick your finger, pop it in, put some on your finger and eat it. It's probably the easiest way. It is very soft. It is very kind of chalky, powdery, the very soft texture in your mouth. With untempered chocolate, it melts at a much lower temperature than tempered chocolate. It doesn't have the gloss and the hardness and the snap of tempered chocolate. So it doesn't make it very portable or very pretty, but it is, as you will see, very delicious. This is what we use in the cafe for making our hot chocolates, because it has all of the cocoa butter in it, whereas hot chocolate normally is made with cocoa powder with no butter. It's very luxurious, very sumptuous. It's fantastic for cooking, and it's really great eating with a spoon as well. The next compartment in the tasting journey is the 70% Papua New Guinea tempered chocolate. So what's particularly interesting about this one is it is exactly the same chocolate as you tasted the time before, but the only difference is this has been tempered. Now, as I alluded to in the previous one with the untempered chocolate, tempering creates a different quality to the chocolate, whereby it melts at a higher temperature, it becomes harder, shiny, and it snaps when it's broken. It does change the mouthfeel a little, as you will experience, but this is the product that is saleable because it's transportable, it's much more robust, and it keeps its shape and its shine really well. So the technology behind, or the science behind tempering, is really a changing of the chemical or the crystal structure of the chocolate product. So untempered chocolate, the crystals or the molecules are kind of sliding over each other. I liken it maybe to graphite in a pencil. So carbon can be like graphite in a pencil, or it can be like coal, carbon and coal, much harder and shinier and stronger. So when we temper chocolate, it turns the crystals into a more of a structured network, which makes it harder. And that's the magic of tempering. So the fifth compartment on the top row contains a comparative single origin tempered chocolate. So in short, we now have a Vanuatu chocolate to compare to the Papua New Guinea that you just had, the last one. So the Vanuatu is, again, it's exactly the same recipe as the Papua New Guinea, 70% cacao, but this time from Vanuatu, and 30% fair trade sugar. Now, you will definitely notice a difference in flavour, and what this comes down to is the different origin. So to understand the chocolate that we're accustomed to eating, that we buy from the supermarket, it tends to be a blend of chocolate from all over the world that's just been sold onto the commodity market. And because regional variation is not desired, because large chocolate makers want their chocolate to always taste the same, a little bit like McDonald's, you always want to take your Big Mac to taste the same whichever country you're in. We expect our Cadbury dairy milk to always taste the same. So seasonal and regional variation is not desired. So it's a blend, and it also has flavours and chemicals put into it to make it always taste the same. Ours is the complete opposite. We are like fine wine or single origin coffee. We want to celebrate the origin of the bean. We do this by not mixing it with other things and not putting flavours in, and roasting it to the profile of the bean as well. So I really hope you can pick the difference. We also have a 70% Solomon's, which isn't in your tasting journey, but when you go back out to the shop, please do ask to compare that one as well. The next chocolate that I'm asking you to sample is actually not an OCHO chocolate. This is a competitor chocolate. It is a very well respected, good quality New Zealand brand, and this is a 72% cacao of the origin of Ghana. The reason that we've put this in is because it's very difficult to truly appreciate the difference between single origin craft chocolate with no emulsifiers if you don't try it next to a commercial chocolate with emulsifiers. So as you taste this one, I would like you to really focus on the mouthfeel. The emulsifiers that industrial or commercial chocolate manufacturers use to extend the tempering run, and i.e. to make it more cost effective, the compromise or the trade-off is the gluggy mouthfeel that you will be noticing when you put this in your mouth. The other thing that the additives that commercial chocolate manufacturers put in do to the chocolate is they reduce the complexity. So you'll notice that this is a more monotonous flavour, whereas the two that you tried earlier, the 70% Papua New Guinea, 70% Vanuatu, both had a very definite beginning, middle and an end to the flavour profile, whereas commercial chocolate tends to be more monotonous. It tends to have a similar taste, and it leaves you not with such a chocolatey taste, but maybe more of a chemically taste. Anyway, you guys be the judge of that. Right, back to the OCHO chocolate now. The next one along, the second on the bottom row, is one of the only 2 chocolate samples that contain any dairy. So at this point, if you are not, if you are vegan or unable to eat dairy, please don't eat the next 2 samples. This one here is our milk product. We use a 48% Papua New Guinea base with local milk powder from Oamaru and fair trade sugar. This chocolate recipe won a gold medal in the New Zealand Chocolate Awards last year. So that is something that we are really delighted about, that we can make ethical, sustainable chocolate that's also best. So I look forward to seeing your thoughts on this. The next one is another comparison product. So in the middle of the bottom row is a Belgian milk. I've put this in to compare to our milk because I want you to notice not only the difference that the emulsifiers make, but how much sugar is typically in milk chocolate. So I often hear people say, oh, I don't like milk chocolate, but it's because they're accustomed to having very sweet milk chocolate, as it typically is. Our milk chocolate has only around 30% sugar in it, so it makes it very low sugar. And again, you'll taste you will feel the gluggy mouthfeel, and you will also notice, compared to our chocolate, the lack of complexity of the flavour profile. So again, this is the lower cacao solids and the additives that they put in the chocolate, which makes it more of a chemical creation or a confectionery than a chocolate. Right, so we're going to finish up with 2 of OCHO's best-selling unique chocolates. The second last one on the bottom row is our salted caramel. This one is what we call, or the next 2 are both inclusion bars. So what this means is that there's something added to the chocolate as an inclusion. So in this case, is salted caramel inclusion. We make the salted caramel candy ourselves here in-house to control the quality of the product and really to control allergens as well. So our salted caramel is vegan. Instead of butter, we use a coconut cream product. It's very simple. It's a coconut cream, sugar, a little bit of salt and a little bit of vanilla to bring the flavour out, and then we add that into a 70% Vanuatu base. This is one of our best sellers with good reason, and we're very proud to provide a delicious vegan product as well. Right, the last one is OCHO's Beekeeper chocolate. This one is in a 70% Papua New Guinea base. Now the caveat here is if you have an allergy to bee pollen or honey, please do not eat this chocolate. It contains both manuka, powdered manuka honey and bee pollen, and it also contains puffed amaranth, which is an ancient grain to give it some extra crunch. This is a beautiful product. Hopefully you will notice near the end of your experience of your tasting that you will get a pop of honey. This is actually the bee pollen. Now, given that the samples that you're tasting are around a gram each, it's possible that there might not be enough pollen in this particular sample. So if you don't get the pop of honey at the end, do try another one or two, because you'll definitely experience it. And again, it's a little bit like alchemy, the way the flavors develop on the palate and arrive either early, in the middle, or at the end. And it's one of the things that makes craft chocolate so exciting. Well, thank you so very much for your participation in OCHO's tasting journey. Hopefully now you do have a better understanding of how craft chocolate and industrial chocolate differs, and what makes craft chocolate more expensive, i.e. the time and ethics that goes into producing it in comparison to industrial chocolate. Now, if you have any questions at all once you've finished your time in the viewing room, please don't hesitate to ask the staff out the front. They're very happy to answer any questions you may have, and also to provide other samples to taste that you haven't encountered during your tasting journey. So thank you so much again for your interest in OCHO chocolate and your support of ethical chocolate. Bye bye.